to is back within his conscious cell memory in order to relay things of a conscious state that you would relate to. Otherwise, it's absolutely meaningless. So that's why many beings in the spirit world actually find it quite difficult, and others in the physical reality find it quite difficult to jump into different time states. I will give you another example just briefly. You may have a house, a dwelling, which is haunted, and we'll say that it's haunted by 6 different generations of the same family. They will not all speak to one another, and in fact, many of those generations will not even see one another. And they won't see one another because coming from a different time when and a different logistic of linear time means that their vibration will be completely different. So people from my time field, for example, their vibration will be completely different to someone from the early medieval period or from the Stone Age. And part of this reason is why you very rarely see or meet with people from specific time fields. It's actually because it takes a great deal of energy to make an appearance in that way. And oftentimes from one particular family, they won't necessarily relate to all of their ancestors all at once. Many native people had the same problem when visiting their holy lands, when visiting their native burial places. Because in actual fact, yes, all of their ancestors are still there, just as they were. But they don't necessarily communicate with one another because they don't realize that they're in the same existence, because their time field of when is logged into a different category, of a different vibration.
Okay, thank you very much. That leads me on to another question, actually, because we have a physics expert here on the Earth plane called Michio Kaku. He's theorized that time travel is actually possible, albeit that perhaps our mainstream scientists are not advanced enough to understand it properly. But he does theorize that if you are an advanced civilization from many thousands of years in the future, he couldn't see any reason why they wouldn't be able to time travel. So if that's the case, could there be future humans or future civilizations time traveling back to now?
Well, it is theoretically possible, my dear friend, and I do not object to it. I would suggest, however, that certain parts of the state of linear time are very, very difficult to predict from a different vantage point. That is part of the problem. Because it is held within one particular linear time doesn't mean to say that you can merely turn a dial to it and then land there. It's actually much more difficult than that, because the organisms of different strata within different dimensions are actually always moving and evolving, just as dimensions are always moving and evolving. That means that there are no fixed parameters.
So is it also true to say that there is multiple timelines for each of us? I mean, do we have, if there's many potentials in the future for all of us, each individual person has an infinite number of choices or potentials, could they create different timelines based on different decisions?
That depends upon whether it is that you are a being who is fixated at being human, or whether you wish to return to your originality, which is pure spirit. If that is the latter is the case, then many of the aggressive or aberrant thoughts and feelings that as a human being you may have, you would simply dilute and pass away. Because, in a sense, what you have to remember, friend, is that thought is a living thing. That is a primary cursor for all events and eventualities. So therefore, I'm saying to you that if then you feel that you want to deliver yourself to a certain particular time when, it may well be that that is something that you arrange yourself. It's not to say that when you are pure spirit that you would want to go on with that. I'm saying that many hundreds of millions of beings who pass to our side of life, once they've had their physical life and they come back here, that's all they want to do. Or maybe they go to a different dimension. Maybe their travel is to do with some other species, completely and inherently differently qualified. and that then becomes their goal and their purpose. Or perhaps their aspect of God wishes to illuminate that kind of pathway. It does not mean that it is lesser or greater, it's just different.
Because it's quite interesting through hypnotherapy. There's a technique called progression, and obviously quite commonly they use regression as well, where they take people back to previous lifetimes and they're almost living that life exactly how it was, remembering everything, all the senses. But also some therapists have tried progression as well, where they kind of take them into a potential future of what their future could be like if they carry on the same way they are at that present moment. And it's almost like they will give them therapy and then get them to come back in a few weeks' time, and when they come back they try progression again, and it's almost like they're shown a different, better future life, almost like the potential of the better pathway compared to the more destructive one. But I guess what I was trying to understand is that, do both of these potential futures already exist in the eternal now, or are they merely a dream, if you like?
They're merely possibilities. Everyone has a myriad of possibilities, do you not agree?
Yes.
And in point of fact, my dear friend, all the possibilities point to the fact that you could wake up in the morning and wish to slay someone. God forbid that you would, but I'm saying the potential is there for every single human being, and it is not without the realms of possibility. However, morality codes and the situation sequence of DNA, perhaps some might cite that as being a factor. Others would say it's purely genetic. But the whole situation comes down to whether you are under or create the pressure for yourself to want to change. Do you really want to continue to live the life that you have now, or is it that you wish to make it better? It is all very well saying that the incitement of some kind of progressive journey into a possible future is daunting or is relevant. All of it is a matter of free will, and is a matter of the choice of that human being as to which direction they wish to take.
Okay, I just want to digress a little bit now to sort of go on to something different. This is quite a very important question, I guess. From your perspective, can you describe how the Creator came into manifestation? How you see the infinite intelligence of the universe that makes up everything? How do you see that? I mean, are you able to describe such a thing?
Well, my dear friend, I look at you and I look at all beings that I ever meet, and I am looking at the Creator. I look at a leaf on a tree, or any aspect of the earth, or any other planet, and I am looking at the residue of the creation of all life. I am looking at how organism works or doesn't work, how it mutates, grows, and forms different and new species, how gases and clouds of chemical come together to make the manifestation of physical state and life. That life does not exist without that which you cite as God, nor does any matter or gas, because all is relevant. Every part of it is a part of that infinite source of creation. Therefore, with human beings who have a Big Bang theory about the universe in which you are presently existing, that is merely one tiny speck of sand in regards to the manifestation of the entirety of that which is God. So you could say that the entire universe that you see at present is just one speck of sand in another universe that is infinitely larger than your present one, and has, in fact, no end. So when you ask of me, or ask of anyone, what is the energy of God or the creation of life, I have to say to you, Look at anything that you see, and all matter, all aspects of thought, theory, and evolution are a part of that manifestation. What did God become before the universe in which you are currently present? It continued and has always existed. There was never a moment when, as far as anyone is aware, that God was not.
So simply, we're all in the mind of God. There is no outside.
There is no outside. There it is that all are pieces and particles of our essences, elements, gases, liquids, whatever. These are all just mere manifestations of physical matter. The actual pure spirit is the energy essence of what God is in truth.